Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield. And joining me on tonight's show, I've got the very lovely author, Emma Wolf, and his bag. He is the political nuisance of the year, as voted for by me. That is Matthew Larser, but a firm favourite of my mother's. But Matthew, we're going to come to you first, because you're...
Loved your mum as always.
Yeah, but you're an ex-Labour Party advisor. And Sir Keir Starmer accepting gifts, £100,000. Is he now the UK's number one scrounger?
No, I don't think. I mean, all MPs, or most MPs.
We're talking about Sir Keir Starmer.
Hospitality, and Keir has taken his fair share. It's fair to say, most of which have come from a Labour member of 30 years standing, a Labour donor, and a Labour peer in Lord Wahid Ali, who's an active supporter of the Labour Party. He's knocked on doors to the Labour Party, just like you and I used to do together, Lee. I have to get it in every time. And the key thing is that they've all been declared. And this week we saw the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards say there was no case to answer. So it's a storm in a teacup.
Storm in a teacup, Emma.
I can't decide which I like more, Free Gear Keir or King of the Cadgers.
Or the Keir Starmer, the Granny Harmer. What about that one?
Yeah, no, that's not funny though, is it?
No, it's not funny.
None of this is funny, actually. And Matthew's wrong when he says that Starmer's taken his fair share. He has taken 2.5 times more freebies than the next MP down, who I believe is Lucy Powell. He has been raking it in. The thing is that I really genuinely don't get, Lee, is that Starmer doesn't need any of this. He doesn't need to take freebies. He's not struggling on the breadline. He's certainly not going to be worrying about his fuel bills. He doesn't need thousands of pounds of clothing for his wife. He doesn't need free glasses. He doesn't need accommodation paid for. He's been football tickets, concert tickets. What is all this really about? I think people are actually quite shocked. And I'm not a Labour Party supporter, but I was kind of expecting a bit better from them. We got so used to hearing 14 years of Tory sleaze. And I apologise to you, you were a former Tory MP.
That's fine by me.
But it became a catchphrase, Tory sleaze. And everybody has seen the footage of Keir Starmer, day one, standing outside number 10 and vowing to clean up Parliament. And now we find out that he is actually more grubby and more scroungy and more of a freeloader than all of the rest of them. And I'm genuinely shocked.
Matthew, why is it, for people watching this show, can you explain why Sir Keir's snout is firmly in the trough?
Well, as I say, lots of MPs are
Again, we're talking about Sir Keir.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if I ask you who took ringside seats for Derek Chisora versus Joe Joyce worth £2,000, who would it be? In that case, it's not Keir Starmer, it's your party leader,
But he's
Nigel
not the Prime
Farage.
Minister who made this pledge on the steps of Downing Street.
I think that all these donations...
Can you not see the hypocrisy, Matthew?
I think all these things were taken before he was Prime Minister. That's my understanding anyway.
Matthew, there's a really, really important question at the heart of this. The Prime Minister has immense influence. What is Lord Ali getting in return? What is he getting in return?
Nothing.
He's nothing.
He's been a Labour supporter for 30 years. He's very actively involved with all levels of the Labour Party. For example, he's very close to an MP called Siobhan McDonough. It's fully declared.
Why was he giving
when her
party?
sister was dying, who was the former General Secretary of the party. He's a friend in every sense of the Labour Party, and he wants the Labour Party to succeed. As a former TV executive,
Matthew, why does he have access still, even though the pass has been revoked, why does he still have access to number 10? Why is he throwing a birthday party for Bridget Phillipson? What is going on here? Why is he getting involved in the domestic affairs of someone's clothing, someone's glasses?
Not the domestic affairs. What I was trying to say,
someone's wife's personal shopper. Say what you like about Norma Major, Sherry Blair, Sarah Brown, all of the previous PM's wives, but if you look in the papers today, you will see they dress themselves. They bought nice designer clothes, or they rented clothes. Like
Cherie certainly had a personal stylist. I mean, look, the question to answer your question directly, Emma. The reason that why he wanted to spend clothes is he would spend the money on clothes is he is a former TV executive. He knows, for example, one of the reasons the glasses is because he wanted the thinnest possible lenses. Because then they look better.
I can't believe
because sadly we live in a TV age.
So pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer is a former DPP. He's got millions of pounds in terms of his pension. He was years as a very, very high earning barrister. He's now the Prime Minister. He's now the Prime Minister on 166,000, just outpaid by his Chief of Staff, bizarrely.
He wasn't the Prime Minister on 166,000.
Who's the paymaster here? Sue Gray or him? Anyway, she's on 170. So he can't afford to pay for a pair of glasses. What is going on?
Actually, Matthew, I'm just going to come back on what Emma's just said about Sue Gray. She just had a pay rise. She's now on 170 grand, about 3 or 4 grand.
She gave herself a pay rise.
Yeah, herself a pay rise. She's now more on the earning more money than the Prime Minister. You know, when you're taking 300 quid off pensioners, you know, who want to heat their homes, and you're giving one of your busy mates a pay rise, that's wrong, surely.
Look, I think it's a slightly odd situation where she's paid just above what the Prime Minister's paid. We've seen people in government paid a lot more than that when they've come in from industry with specific skills. I personally think that there should be a rule where the Prime Minister's pay is the top of the tree, because the Prime Minister, whatever party they're from, is the person where the buck ultimately stops. So, but she is a senior civil servant, and I think that permanent secretaries and departments get more than the Prime Minister. So, therefore, why shouldn't the head of the whole civil service?
Is she a Labour voter?
Who's the special advisor here? Who is the special advisor?
Exactly.
Is it Starmer or is it Sue Gray? Because she cut the salaries of. There's a lot of anger inside Number 10. She cut the salaries of other special advisors, and she was the one who decided to raise
Emma, this is socialism.
That pay bracket from 140 to 180. I mean, these are eye-watering sums. And Lee, let's get back to the reality. They have just cut £300 from people who will be sitting huddled in a blanket in one room. That maybe sounds dramatic, but that is the truth of what pensioners are facing this winter. It's absolutely disgusting. Thousands of pounds on a pair of glasses. Give me a break.
Matthew.
Well, I don't think there's a direct correlation between, the Wahid Ali's donation to pay for suits and glasses and the winter fuel allowance, where let's remind ourselves that the poorest pensioners will still get the winter fuel allowance. And one of the good things about this has been that tens of thousands of more
good things
let me finish, please, who are entitled to pension credit are now applying for it and will get support that's worth a lot more than the winter fuel allowance, and they deserve it.
Let me give you some simple mathematics, Matthew, that even those on the left will understand. There's about 800,000 people in this country not claiming pension credits. If all of those all of a sudden claim pension credits, which then passports them to the winter fuel allowance and council tax support and other bits and bobs, that will be probably twice as much money costing the Treasury and the taxpayer as what they saved by
but they deserve
the winter fuel allowance.
So
it makes it a nonsense, Matthew.
They deserve that. They deserve that help, and I would encourage every pensioner who thinks that they might be entitled to look into it and see if they can get pension credit.
And Matthew, what about the pensioners who are just over the threshold, 11, 12, 13,000 pounds a year? You think they can afford it? Well, they can't, and their energy bills are absolutely spiralling. And actually, this is about real people. This is about people like my mum who don't know how to go online and fill out 240-something questionnaires and just think, I'm not sure what to do.
You can
I'll
do it
just
on the
be cold
phone.
this winter.
You don't have to do it online. It's not.
Well, and so you expect government phone lines are so efficient, aren't they? Look at HMRC every January, which gets completely blocked up. You think 800,000 vulnerable elderly people, some of whom may not even know how to negotiate this stuff. You think they're all going to get on?
Their local MPs are there to help.
The money won't come through.
Running a campaign in Ashford.
Well, I am actually doing that, Matthew.
No, I know. I thought you would.
I'm actually doing that for people to claim pension credit. But we go back to 2017 when the Labour Party's own report stated that if the winter fuel allowance was cut, it would lead to the deaths of 3,800 people. Yeah. What's the Keir Starmer going to say to these families now?
Look, I think what he's going to say is that the poorest pensioners are entitled to help. He's going to look,
Is there going to be deaths because of this?
I'm not an expert. I hope not. I hope that people who are struggling with their bills will seek help. And energy suppliers are also putting in place schemes to help. One of the biggest this week unveiled several £1 million to help its customers. And I know that other energy suppliers are going to follow suit.
When elderly people get cold, they get sick. And look at the state of the NHS.
Not only do they get sick, they do get sick, Emma, they're more likely to tumbles and falls and to end up in the local hospital.
They're not out in warm offices every day. They're not rushing around. They're not being driven around Westminster in
They're not being bought warm suits either.
They're not being bought warm suits and anything else. They're sitting in one room. There's a woman in the bottom of our building, and she's sitting in one room, and it's already getting cold. And Matthew talks about all these people are eligible for this, that, and the other. That money may not arrive in time, and many elderly people will not go into debt. They're terrified of this.
Let me just play an impartial devil advocate again, Matthew. So just a few years back when Starmer was on TV banging on about a woman called Elsie or Beryl or something like that. This elderly lady who couldn't afford to have her heating on, that used to ride around on a bus all day just to keep warm. We're going to get a double whammy here, I think, Matthew. Not only has the winter fuel allowance been cut, but it also looks like that pensioners' free bus passes are going to be taken away in the budget next month. What's else are you going to do then?
Well, look, the government has always said it hasn't given a list of everything that will be in the budget, but it's made clear that
they're in the firing line again.
Will remain. So there is. I mean, my understanding is that there is no threat to the senior citizens bus pass in England. Obviously, in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, it's up to those governments.
Matthew, why are these vulnerable people in the firing line with this government? What have they got against vulnerable people?
The problem is, Emma, is that the
single-person discount is
the
also
winter
in the
fuel
firing
allowance
line.
was going to millionaires. The winter fuel
money
allowance
is going to train drivers who are now earning £73,000 a year.
Well, they're not likely to be claiming their pension if they're train drivers, but it was going to millionaire pensioners. And if you look at the fact, pensioner poverty has halved in the last 25 years, thanks to things like the pensioners' credit, which Gordon Brown introduced, whereas fuel poverty amongst the working age population has remained exactly the same. Hard choices. It's not an easy choice to make, but sadly, because of the mess the Tories left us, Labour's had to.
Emma, has Matthew persuaded you that you're on the wrong side of the argument here?
No, absolutely not. I know I'm on the right side, and the rest of the country knows that we're on the right side of this argument because we care about vulnerable people.
Matthew, final word.
It's a tough choice, and I'd encourage, but a necessary one because of the mess. And I'd encourage anybody watching the programme who's worried about their heating bill to seek extra help, apply for pension credit, and look to your energy supplier to get the extra help you need.
Well, there you go. That's Matthew Larzer and Emma Wolf.